Hello, and welcome to another series of our video lessons for understanding culture, society, and politics. I am your ultimate teach guy, Sir Fitz. For this video, I will discuss to you the concepts of cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. So take your study notebook now and take note of the important details you will get from this video. Stay tuned and enjoy. Here are the objectives of our lesson for this day. At the end of this topic, you should be able to explain the importance of cultural relativism and attaining cultural understanding. Specifically, this discussion aims to number 1, define the meaning of cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. Number 2, differentiate cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. And lastly, to recognize the importance of cultural relativism. Before we proceed to our discussion, let's have a review. Read and analyze the questions carefully and choose the correct answer. Write your answer on your study notebook. Ready? That's great. Let's start our review. Question number 1. Ideas, beliefs, and traditions are called blank. Number 2. It is any materials that created by humans that can give information about the past. Number 3, it is a complex network of group of people that are connected to each other. Number 4, it is the intricate system manifested through their beliefs, practices, values, attitudes, and laws. And number 5, it is an example of aspects of culture. Here are the choices. Letter A, artifacts. Letter B, society. Letter C, non-material culture. Letter D, culture. Or letter E, dynamic. You can pause for a while for this video while you are answering this activity. Let's now check your answer to your study notebook. Prepare your ball pen for checking your answer. Ready? That's great. Let's start our checking. For number 1, the answer will be letter C. That is correct. Number 2, letter A. Number 3, letter B. Number 4, letter D. And number 5, letter E. Count the correct answer and write your score on your study notebook. For the first part of our discussion, let's analyze this particular activity. This activity is a song analysis. You need to search on YouTube the video of Kaleidoscope World by Francis Magalona. Watch it and analyze its lyrics. Afterwards, you need to answer the processing questions on your study notebook. You can pause this video for a while you are listening for the music video by Francis M. Here are the following processing questions that you need to accomplish at the end of the video. Number 1. What does the song talk about? Number 2. Based on the song, what do you mean by cultural equality? Do you think the song is connected to cultural relativism and why? And number 3, why this song is a good example of promotion of cultural relativism. Once again, you can pause this video while you are answering the following question. I hope that you can do this activity. That's great. Welcome back, and I hope that you are done to our processing question. Let's now investigate the processing question and the activity that you have done. Remember that the activity that you have done is entitled as Kaleidoscope World by Francis Magalona. This particular song or music video is released on 1995. This particular song is an alternative rock genre and This is on the Free Man album by Francis Magalona. Basically, the song itself is about kaleidoscope. But what is the meaning of kaleidoscope? Ano nga bang ibig sabihin nito? Kaleidoscope is also known as constantly changing pattern. So as you can see to the image itself, ganyan yung itsura ng isang kaleidoscope. Usually, kaleidoscope is a tube instrument wherein you will see it like a telescope. And then inside of it, meron tong mga patterns, colorful patterns na nagre-reflect to each other. At ito yung nagkikreate ng parang effect. And that effect is called also kaleidoscope. Somewhat, kaleidoscope and culture is related to each other. Pero ano nga ba yung pinagkapareho ng kaleidoscope at ng culture? So I will give you some points. Unang-una, ang kaleidoscope ay dynamic. Kapag tinignan natin to, walang definite na pattern na mabubuo. Iba-ibang pattern yung makikita mo dun sa telescope na yon. Similar also with culture. Remember, on our week 2, we have discussed one of the aspect of culture is being dynamic. It means that it changes over time or it can be also gradually. Second is the pattern that you will see inside that particular telescope. Also similar with culture. In culture, we have different patterns that we can observe, and of course, these patterns will also have a particular identity. And lastly, will be transmitted. Because of the reflection inside the telescope, there will be a transmission of different images to our brain, specifically to the optic nerves. Also similar with culture, there should be a transmission of shared information or shared ideas and concept from one person to another person or from one generation to the next generation. Specifically, the song has this particular lyrics. So many faces, so many races, different voices, different choices. This particular line is also similar to the meaning of dynamic. Tatandaan natin, di ba sabi natin on week 2, ang kultura ay iba-iba. At dahil sa pagkakaiba-iba ng kultura, ito ay nagkakaroon ng iba't ibang uniqueness level. At ito ang nagbibigay ng identity at ng kulay doon sa kultura na yon. Kaya nga dito sa picture na pinapakita natin sa video is a color spectrum para mapakita natin na ang kultura ay iba-iba at ito ay unique sa isa't isa. Second statement is every color and every hue is represented by me and you. The same time, since even though or despite that culture is differently to each other, also remember that this particular culture is represented by me and you. It means that it is created and originated from humans. Humans are the one that creates culture. Therefore, it represents human being. And it will also go back again to the definition of culture. Kaya I choose this particular song for the first activity for you to have a strong connection and for you to find a strong relationship between the meaning of the song and of course to our main concept, which is culture. So let's deepen our understanding regarding on culture. So I have here different pictures that represents the Philippine itself. So as you can see, I have here an image of the Philippine map and of course, different culture from different regions of the Philippines and our historical findings. Because of this geographical structure and history, it resulted to diverse and culturally variated society. Dahil sa hiwa-hiwalay yung isla sa Pilipinas, nagkaroon tayo tuloy ng mga iba't ibang kultura sa bawat isla. At dahil dito, mas lalong naging colorful, mas lalong naging mayaman yung kultura ng ating bansa. At the same time also, since hiwa-hiwalay nga yung isla sa Pilipinas, hiwa-hiwalay din kung paano tayo nagkakaroon ng kanya-kanyang kasaysayan. At itong kasaysayan na ito ay meron ding kinalaman sa pag-improve ng kultura natin. So therefore, by means of this reason, geographic and historical, nagkakaroon ng cultural variation or yung pagyaman at pagkakaiba-iba ng kultura sa loob ng isang bansa tulad ng Pilipinas. Kaya babalik pa rin tayo doon sa pinaka-lyrics pa rin ng Kaleidoscope World ni Francis Magalona. It's really represent the Filipino culture at the same time, the Filipino identity and Filipino personality. Despite of variation and diversity, dapat magkaroon pa rin tayo ng unification at all. Usually kasi ang konsepto natin, kapag may variation at may diversity, nagkakaroon tayo lalo ng pagkakaiba-iba. At dahil sa pagkakaiba-iba na to, nagkakaroon ng isolation. Pero doon tayo nagkakamali, di ba? Dapat, as long as nagkakaroon tayo ng pagkakaiba-iba, mas lalong lumalawak yung konsepto natin tungkol sa kung ano yung pinagkapare-pareho natin. Despite of our differences, look for the similarities that we can find to the culture of each societies or each region in our country. On that manner, makikita natin na magkakaroon ng mas unified na identity, mas magkakaroon ng unified action yung isang bansa na iyon. So how? Paano nga ba magiging unified ang isang bansa na culturally variated? And that is through the process of cultural relativism. So what is cultural relativism and why cultural relativism is very important? Cultural relativism is a perspective in social science, anthropology, that you can analyze the commonalities or similarities of each culture. Kesa sa hanapin natin yung pinagkaiba-iba ng bawat kultura, hanapin natin ngayon yung pagkakapare-pareho ng bawat kultura. Ano bang pinagkapareho ng kultura ng specific na region na to sa kabilang region? Huwag natin silang paglabanin. Rather, hanapin natin kung saan sila related sa isa't isa. That's why tinawag itong cultural relativism because you are trying to relate your culture from the culture of that particular society. On that manner, may iwasan natin na magkaroon ng superiority and inferiority between culture. At the same time, discrimination. Kasi mas hinahanap natin yung similarities or yung pagkakatulad ng ating kultura kesa sa pagkakaiba-iba. Paano ito gagawin? Pwede nating itong makita sa Philippine folk dances natin. 'Di ba? As you can see, that every area in the Philippines or every regions in the Philippines may kanya-kanyang folk dances yan. Pero kahit iba-iba ng estilo yung folk dances na ito, pare-pareho naman sila ng ibig sabihin, pare-pareho naman sila ng pinapatungkulan, pare-pareho din sila na merong specific na step na kung saan ito ay magiging similar. And this manner, makikita natin kung gaano kahalaga ang cultural relativism as a perspective in social science or anthropology. The same time, we need to use our skills in appreciating, acknowledging, and of course, giving credits to that particular culture. On that manner, mas lalo nating nagagamit itong cultural relativism doon sa iba't ibang kultura na na-observe natin or nakikita natin. So the main concept of cultural relativism is that no culture is superior to other culture. Remember that one. Ang goal ng cultural relativism ay magkaroon ng cultural equality or pagkakapantay-pantay ng mga kultura. Kaya naniniwala ang cultural relativism na walang mataas na kultura. Lahat ng kultura ay pantay-pantay. Kaya dito, magkakaroon tayo ng pantay-pantay na pananaw din sa ating mga buhay at sa ating lipunan. Dito, maiiwasan natin na magkaroon ng discrimination higit sa lahat ng racism. So, ano naman ngayon itong tinatawag nating ethnocentrism? Kung ang cultural relativism is you need to relate your culture to other culture. Ito naman sa ethnocentrism is definitely opposite of cultural relativism. Sir, bakit po naging opposite? There is a cultural standard or norms in analyzing different cultures. It means that kinukumpara mo ngayon yung kultura mo sa kultura nila. Remember the term, kinukumpara mo yung kultura mo sa kultura nila. Ibig sabihin, sinet mo yung kultura mo bilang primary standard doon sa pagkakaroon ng point of comparison or point of difference. Doon pa lang, nagkaroon na ng pagkakaiba si cultural relativism at si ethnocentrism. Let's move forward. So, this particular perspective in anthropology is also known as ethnic bias or cultural bias. Since nag-set ka ng particular na standard at yung ginamit mong standard ay yung standard ng kultura mo, may tendency na magkakaroon ng bias doon sa gagawin mong perspective at doon sa gagawin mong pagtingin sa kultura na yon. Next. This will also resulted to racism, discrimination, and other hate crimes. Since nagput ka ng isang standard dun sa kultura na yon. So, ibig sabihin, lahat nung hindi nakaabot dun sa standard na yon, ano magiging itsura nila? Ano yung magiging pananaw nila? Ano yung magiging resulta kapag hindi sila nag-meet doon sa standard na sinet mo? Usually, dito na magkakaroon ng tinatawag nating racism, discrimination, and other hate crimes. Some example of that particular perspective is this particular picture. So as you can see to this picture, I censored the name of this product. So ang point ko lang dito is the differences between the skin color. Itong nandito sa inyong right side ay white girl, while on the left side is a brown girl. And then sabi nitong nandito sa left side, unfair 'di ba? Sabi naman nung nasa right side, huwag magalit, mag-blank your fair advantage. Dito pa lang, makikita na agad natin na tayong mga Pilipino ay meron itong particular na perspective na to, yung tinatawag nating ethnocentrism. Kasi naniniwala pa rin tayong mga Pilipino na kapag ikaw ay maputi, maganda ka. Na kapag ikaw ay maputi, matalino ka. Or kapag ikaw ay maputi, ikaw ay nakakataas sa iba. So on that manner, mas lalo nating pinapalakas yung ethnocentrism rather than on the cultural relativism itself. So if you will trace back this particular attitude of the Filipino people, pwede nating makita sa historical background natin. Kasi 'di ba, na-colonize tayo ng tatlong bansa, and because of this, na-improve lalo or tumaas lalo yung insecurities natin mga Pilipino towards to our physical properties or physical characteristics. Ito pa yung isa nating tawag dito, yung colonial mentality, which also falling to ethnocentrism. Next example. Another example is this one. Ayan, very trending to, lalo na sa mga millennials and of course, sa inyo, mga Gen Z, di ba? The addiction of the Filipino people to K-pop. That is also an example of ethnocentrism. To the point na meron tayong isang specific na boy band group dito sa Philippines na masyado nang na-idolize itong mga Korean culture na nag-result din sa mataas na ating ethnocentrism perspective. So I also have this particular Twitter post that I have found in the internet. So I will read the context. The whole Philippines is in love with Korean culture and promote Korean media everywhere. Meanwhile, Koreans look down on the Philippines so much that they use the word Filipino as an insult for darker skinned Koreans named something sadder. So, on this particular example, nagre-result na siya ngayon nung mga tinatawag nating discrimination and racism. So, nag-uugat pa rin yan doon sa ethnocentrism na perspective nating mga Pilipino. Since masyado nang mataas yung pagtangkilik natin sa kultura ng ibang lahi kesa sa kultura natin na nagre-resulta tuloy ngayon ng diskriminasyon at ng racism. Another example is this video or this image. As you can see on the first image on your right side or on your left side, there is two men holding a pole. So yung isa, it's a white man, and then yung isa naman, it's a fair-skinned or a brown-skinned man. Pero ang in-approach nung police hindi yung na white. Ang in-approach niya yung brown skin. That is also an example of discrimination which is also originated from the ethnocentrism also. Then, another example is on your left side. Itong picture na to, as you can see, may mga Amerikano na nandun sa side na ito, nandun sa dulong side, while yung mga na-colonize nilang bansa ay nandun sa harapan. At itong mismong portrayal ni Uncle Sam bilang Amerika ay nagpapakita na mataas yung kultura ng mga Amerikano compare sa kultura ng ibang lahi. Kaya ito ay isang example din ng ethnocentric perspective na nagre-result din ng discrimination and racism. So, what is now the importance of cultural relativism after seeing those example? Unang importance is there is a space for verification and validation of beliefs, traditions, and practices. Through cultural relativism, since hinahanap natin yung similarities ng bawat kultura, nakikita natin ngayon kung ano yung pagkakapareho ng paniniwala natin, ng mga tradisyon natin at yung mga practices na ginagawa ng bawat kultura, nakikita natin ngayon na, okay, significant pala, relevant pala yung ginagawa ng kultura namin kasi ginagawa din pala siya ng kultura ng ibang nasyon. Kaya nagkakaroon ng verification and validation. Second importance is the evaluation of morality and ethical soundness of cultural practices. On that manner, mas lalo nating nababalanse ngayon. Ano nga ba yung tama? Ano nga ba yung mali? Ano ba yung good? Ano ba yung bad? Some cultural practices, aminin natin, may mga cultural practices na pananaw ng ibang lahi ay masama. Pero para sa kanila, ito ay tama. And that is one of the good importance of cultural relativism. Nakikita natin ngayon kung ano yung maganda, ano yung tama, para or according sa morality at sa ethical issues. And the last importance is the ability to see the holistic point of view of that culture. Nakikita natin holistically yung kultura na yon. Hindi tayo nagkakaroon ng bias dun sa culture na tinitignan natin. So cultural relativism is like a color spectrum wherein everything is unique and beautiful. Katulad ng pinakita ko sa inyo kanina. Thus, it needs acknowledgement, appreciation, and understanding. Because at the end of the day, we are all humans. Yun yung tatandaan naman natin dito. Kahit iba-iba tayo ng pinagmulan, iba-iba tayo ng kultura, iba-iba tayo ng pinapractice, iba-iba tayo ng paniniwala, babagsak pa rin tayo sa huli na tayo ay pare-parehong tao. At ano nga ba ang isang tao? Ano nga ba dapat ang paniniwala ng isang tao? At yun yung pinaka-konsepto ng cultural relativism. Gustong ituro sa atin ng cultural relativism kung paano dapat ang pananaw ng isang tao sa kanyang kultura. Okay? Let's move to our discussion forum. For your discussion forum, on the comment bar on your FLMS, please complete and expound the following statements. Statement number 1, without cultural relativism, the world will be. Statement number 2, ethnocentrism is still important because. And statement number 3, cultural relativism is important because. To end this video lesson, I will leave you this particular quote by Robert Allen. Para sa kanya, cultural differences should not separate us from each other, but rather, cultural diversity brings a collective strength that can benefit all of humanity. Same with biodiversity. Habang lumalawak ang ating kalikasan, ang pagkakaiba-iba ng bawat organismo sa ating kalikasan, mas lalong yumayaman ang likas na yaman na nandoon sa bayan na yon. At ganun din sa kultura. Tatandaan natin na habang nagkakaroon ng pagyaman at pagyabong sa kultura, hindi ito nagiging paraan para magkaroon ng isolation or ng border sa pagitan ng isa. Ito ay mas lalo pang magpapayaman sa koneksyon ng bawat isa sa loob ng nasyon na yon. So, with that, I hope that you have learned something from this video lesson. See you next week for the new topic for this subject. Bye!